Good evening, everyone. It's Monday. It's 8 p.m. and of course, it's the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. I had a few weeks off due to a health scare, generally not feeling in the right headspace, but I'm back this week. No Matt, so no fancy intro. And let's face it, we wouldn't have heard the end of Jaden Clark's goal. So without further ado, I'm delighted to be joined by Gillingham FC Supporters Club Media Officer David Garth, our very own Warren and Dom. How are we, boys?
How you doing?
Evening.
Pretty good. Hi.
All right. How are we feeling after Saturday?
Positive and happy because we've won.
We just jumped straight in, so we will start with the Views news and we will get straight into Bonner's dejection on Thursday and Bonner's home truths on Friday. Wednesday is dejection. So, I want to start off with that because he looked absolutely broken on Wednesday night when he had his little chat with Phil at full time. It's all very well and good, saying that he needs to go, and some section of the fan base is saying that, but the man just looked absolutely broken. And you know what? It was hard to watch. So, David, I'll start with you, mate. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it certainly did show through, didn't it? He really didn't look a happy man at all, and really with justification, because the actual game was dreadful. I'm just so glad that we're a few days on now and we've got 3 points in the bag. So I'm sure he's a little bit happier this evening.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Warren?
I don't know about Bonner being dejected, but I certainly was absolutely cheesed off with the performance on Wednesday. Them players gave the manager nothing, absolutely nothing on Wednesday. And I can understand his frustration and how upset he was, because there's not a lot he can do about it. He's got the same players. He's got them to at least January the 1st. And I don't think he knows where to go with the players that he's got available.
Yeah, I think a lot of your annoyance on Wednesday was probably because you was a little bit drunk as well, mate. So
I was a lot drunk.
We move. Yeah, Dom, what were your thoughts on his post match on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I just felt really sorry for him looking at him. I'm sure if he didn't have to be PG in his interview, he would have gone absolutely full in mental, like we probably all would have done. Just absolutely gutted, didn't he? That he'd been let down again after giving a bit of a rallying cry for him to buck their ideas up and sort themselves out, and they just gave him absolutely nothing in return. Looking like he did, to be honest. I think we all felt probably the similar, to be fair.
Yeah. And it was because all week we were hearing, oh yeah, we care, and none of them did anything on Wednesday night to show that they cared. So we will move on to Bonner's pre-match on Friday. A few home truths towards a few players. Certain players, didn't name them, but I think we can all guess some of them, saying that they weren't really up for it. Then the attitude wasn't right. So Warren, I'll start with you, mate. What were your thoughts on his pre-match?
Well, I actually congratulate him up on that. It was something that needed doing 6 weeks ago, to be honest. When you're that far, you've gone that far downhill like we have, something needed to be said, and it's about time that. It's no good keep doing it in the dressing room. Let's publicly say I'm not happy, and some of the players need to step up to the mark, because at the end of the day, it got a reaction on Saturday. And sometimes you've got to clear the air and speak out and be strong just to get a different sort of reaction, because playing nicely hadn't worked up until then.
And David, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that mate, did he go hard enough with what he said?
I think he did. I would agree. Really, it needed to be done, and I'd agree again. Maybe it should have been done weeks ago. There was no doubt there was a reaction, and it shone through the entire game. I mean, Salford weren't there to just to make up the numbers, and they really dished it out with, as we'll come on to later, with a really poor referee. But a lot of our players did stand up. They were counted, and yeah, we got over the line, which is important. It's interesting. I wonder, with the lineup, was there any significance in the players that he did leave out? Were they the ones that he maybe was having more issues with? It's just an interesting thought, or was it just the way that he felt maybe someone like Hutton just needed a kick up the backside? Who knows, really, for sure. We'll never know exactly what goes on in that dressing room, will we? But we can all sort of make our own thoughts of it. But yeah, it certainly had a desired effect, didn't it?
Yeah, it definitely did. And Dom, I mean, that, as David alluded to, you kind of feel that we will get onto it a bit later, but he's gone and said that and then left. For me, any one of them could be in and out of the squad, but the main one that he left out was obviously at right back. Do you think that maybe Romeo Hutton's been used as a bit of a scapegoat there?
I think for the amount of time we've been poor, someone's going to cop it, and he's the one that's copped it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. As Warren said, it probably could have been done a few weeks ago, but we've kept giving them chances after chance after chance, and we've not produced anything. So I have no problem with him coming out and saying it as it is. I would rather a manager come out and say it how we see it than try and sugarcoat it, because I think it would piss more people off if he just sort of turned a blind eye to it publicly. Yeah. I think it needed to be done. They needed to be called out. They needed to step up, and as David said, they did step up on the weekend.
Yeah. Fair enough, lads. So we will just quickly like to do our facts of the opposition team as we do every week. So Peter Lim was the majority stakeholder of Salford, the same Peter Lim who owned the Liga side Valencia, but he later sold his stake to Project 92, consisted of none other than Gary Neville, Brian Giggs, Nicky Butt, and Phil Neville. And I do believe David Beckham has a 10% as well, but I didn't want to put it out there because he's not a majority. The club was founded in 1940 as Salford Central and played in local leagues until 1963 when they joined the Manchester League Division 1. This is Salford's 85th season and their 6th consecutive season in League 2. So, boys, we will just move on straight away to the lineups. So we had Glenn Morris in goal. We had a back four of Max Clark, Max Amer, Connor Masterson, and a first league debut start, and also sponsored by the Gillingham FC Supporters Club, Harry Webster. We then had a middle four of Joe Bode, Ethan Coleman, Robin McKenzie, and Jaden Clark, and then with a top two of Elliot Nevitt, Josh Andrews. Nice welcome couple of faces returning to the bench there in Aaron Rowe of Bradley Dack. With Shad Ogie, who dropped down to the bench. Ashby Hammond came in to replace Jake Turner. Johnny Williams, Romeo Hutton obviously dropping to the bench, and Jack Nolan. There we go. So it was basically a 4-4-2, wasn't it, lads? That's pretty much how it was. That's the way I saw it anyway, with how it is on the screen. So, Warren, I'll start with you, mate. Anything out of that you would have changed? Anything that you would have brought in, left out, or?
Well, Morris had to come in because of the injury to Turner. I prefer Turner, but after Saturday's performance, Morris proved that he was deserving of his place above Ashby Hammond. Webster playing at right back was a big shock because I think over the last few weeks when we've been really poor, Hutton's been one of our better players. So I was really surprised to see that Hutton was dropped. And for me, it can't have been for football reasons. It must have been for other reasons. Because if you look at that team, some of the people that are playing, Hutton over the last few weeks have been head and shoulders over the rest of them. I'm surprised he played 4-4-2. It was a big surprise to see Bodie coming in, especially with Jaden on the other wing. And then playing Nevitt and Andrews up front. Didn't really work, but we looked a bit more solid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Dom, we did look better, and I think that's the only thing that we really ask as Gills fans, isn't it? Like sometimes it doesn't really matter if we lose, so long as you can see that the players are actually giving it 100%.
Yeah, and I think the change he did, mate, he could have changed the whole 11 if he really wanted to, but obviously he's not going to do that. The changes he did make, everyone that came in, put in a shift and made an impact. I was really gutted Gabbo went off because he had Minoga on toast. And I think that some of the squad there that would play with Minoga when he was on loan here would have maybe given a hint to say, like, if you run at him, he can cause some serious issues. And we saw that whilst he was on, and shame he went off, really. But now overall, we were much more solid, much more compact, a bit more disciplined. And I think we looked a lot better with the system, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And David, was there any surprises for you? And obviously happy that Webster got his first start, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good to see Harry Webster making his league debut. We'd been told a while back, Joe Comper spoke to me and said, can you help out maybe and look at sponsoring him? We are feeling that there's really good things ahead for him. And hopefully he'll be breaking into the first team soon, which he obviously has done now. So, yeah, I was surprised, but not that surprised because of what he'd already said to us. I mean, the up front pair, that's the first time that they've actually played together at all. They've never been on the pitch at the same time. One's replaced the other. So, it didn't, I agree, it didn't really work that well, but they hadn't played together before. So maybe things will develop from there. Apart from that, I wasn't particularly surprised. And I was very pleased that Glenn Morris was in goal. For me, he's the better keeper and always has been. So it was generally a pretty good lineup for me.
Yeah, I think I alluded to this the other night, and I said the man that wears the number 1 shirt should be the number 1 keeper. Jake is a good shot stopper, but then you expect a goalkeeper to be that. I just think that his distribution is a little bit worrying at times. But with Jake, with Glenn, he just seems to be a little bit more, and it's going to be more of a rounded goalkeeper, because of age. So anyway, we'll just move on to the whole game in general, and I'll start with you this time, David, and we will ask you, what were your thoughts with the overview of the game?
It was a bit of a struggle at times. I mean, there was a bit of a war going on down Bodie's side with Minoga. It was right in front of us in the main stand. And I felt that Minoga actually started the better of the two players. But as Don was saying, really, Bodie was just getting the measure of him when he just got a whack in the face. So I think that if that had continued, I think he would have really started to run him ragged, to be honest with you. Apart from that, we didn't create a lot of really solid chances, but even though Salford had 10 shots, I can't really recall that many of them, apart from a couple of really good saves by Morris, that really caused us a lot of problems. And I suppose arguably they will go away feeling a bit aggrieved that they didn't get something out of the game. But hey, do we really care? No, not at all. 3 points. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's it, Dom, isn't it? Like, we don't care about it. All we care about is that that one that did go in the onion bag. I do feel that Masterson was a bit of a donkey in the first half.
Yeah,
letting Stockton through. What was that? For me, he's like gone to kick the ball, but just fluffed it, mate. What was your overview of it?
I don't think he knew what he was doing himself, really, and he's just incredibly lucky that Glenn Morris's one-on-one stopping is probably up there, probably one of the best keepers we've had from one-on-one stopping. I mean, he done it twice on Saturday. He really dug Marston out of a hole. If we'd have gone 1-0 down, the place would have turned really quickly. Because we weren't that long into the first half, was it? I don't think.
No, 15 minutes, I think.
Yeah, so if we'd have gone 1-0 down, I think that's when the crowd would have really just, especially with a mistake like that as well, it would have really turned the crowd on them. But no, I think overall the game was, if you could describe your typical League Two game, like grotty weather, it was a bit heavy. There wasn't really many main clear-cut chances. If you were describing it to someone who's never watched League Two football before, that would be the game you probably describe, to be fair. But like David said, we've got the win, so that's all that matters. That is it.
Yeah, I think it was the ball was going up in the air and it was literally just coming back. It's like when you kick a balloon, isn't it? Or one of them, the airflow balls we used to have when we were kids.
Did you see that four times the ball went out over the Gordon Road stand in about 5 minutes? And they kept running around with extra balls. And I actually shouted out, "Why don't you take 2 round?" And as he was going round, another one went out of the pit. It was farcical for a while there.
Someone's window's going to have been smashed. Talking about the Gordon Road, Warren, we will come to you because you was a special guest in the Gordon Road on Saturday.
I was far too young for it. Honestly, I actually got told off for calling the referee a twat at one point. Yeah. And I'm thinking, Christ, I've come to a game of football, not a library. But with regards to the game, the referee very nearly allowed a game of football to break out, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was really poor.
It was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. His decision-making kind of gone down with the assessor in the stands because I've refereed and I can't honestly see how anyone, neutral, assessor, supporters from both sides, managed to get to any conclusion of any decision he made all day, to be honest.
Carl Robinson
most of his games in the Championship this season.
Yeah.
That's worrying, isn't it?
It is worrying.
Carl Robinson really liked him, apparently. I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, I think the 15 free kicks might have been a giveaway. I think they conceded probably about 40, but got 15. So I'm sure Cole Robinson's very happy.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he wasn't great, was he?
The game weren't great. We battled hard. All I ask, and I think all three of us will say the same thing, all we ask from the Gillingham team is that they try. Wednesday, they didn't. Wednesday, they went missing. On Saturday, they turned up. They put in a shift. All right, the football weren't great. There was still a lot of negative things to say about the performance. But when you win 1-0, you just shut up, take the 1-0, go home and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you do, you do. And like I did say, like I said earlier, I don't think we really mind if we lose as long as we can see that we're trying. I definitely feel that it was if we'd have lost, I could have seen why, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a great game. We deserved to win, but if we'd have lost, I would have seen that as well. So yeah, it wasn't great. So we're making good time tonight, boys, and we move on to our man of the matches already, I think. Before we do, was it a foul on Bode?
It was right in front. It was right in front of me, but it was like over in a flash, and didn't really see what happened. To be honest with you, it's just wow. It was just a blur, honestly. And we were talking about it for ages afterwards. What was it? An elbow? Was it just a shoulder? Did he get hit in the jaw? We spoke. Bradley Datt was saying that he got hit in the jaw, and several of the players in the dugout reacted quite angrily, shall we say. But I'm doing an Arsene Wenger. I did not see it. It's like that, really. So I don't know.
Yeah, Warren, for you, mate. Warren.
It was
where you were. Obviously, you're a bit further out, weren't you? So.
Yeah, I didn't really see the incident, but the fact that the guy didn't get a booking, the players weren't really ranting and raving. I would say that Joe Bode is not going to win the world heavyweight title soon with that chin.
Oh God. Anyway, Joe, we wish you all the best, mate. Dom, yeah, from where you were in the Rainham end.
I think as Warren said, I think if it was as serious as some of us may have thought at the time, I think you can sort of tell by a player's reaction of not to take your teammates. If something's really bad, they go steaming into the referee, claiming something. I didn't really see much of that. It looked a bit like a coming together, seeing it again, but sometimes you can see them given. So it's just one of them, isn't it? And I think the referee, I think some decisions just summed him up, really.
There was a lot more reaction actually to a foul by Lund quite early in the game, a little bit before that.
Yeah, was it the one on Nevitt before he got yellow carded?
Yeah, I think it was. But I mean,
He should have been
Lund was lucky not to get about 3 yellow cards in that game. But there again, with that referee, I'm not that surprised, to be honest with you. He didn't have a clue. I mean, he even forgot the ball at half time, didn't he? He came out and no one had a ball. He didn't have the match ball with him. So they had to wait till he got a match ball.
That's what I want to do. I just want to rewind a little bit to kick off, because what happened there? Like, we couldn't even get that right. What was that about? Like, I think took the kick off, and then Mackenzie knocked it out to Clark, and then there was nothing.
Yeah, Jaden moved far too soon, Kris. It was about 5 minutes before he kicked it that he moved. Hence why it only went 10 yards.
But yeah, well, talking about Jaden, and we will mention him. I was trying to skirt around the goal, but we can't really, considering that we won. Because I don't want to be like Matt. But we will just have to touch on the goal, because Jaden has been, well, through some certain bits of the fan base, Dom, he's been dragged over hot coals, isn't he? It was a well, I wouldn't say it was a lovely corner from Nolan, because at the moment he's happy just to stroll around the pitch and pick up his wage in my eyes. But it then obviously comes out, get into Max Clark intercepts it. I was expecting it to be like flung into the box the way he usually does, but he's obviously cut it back. Mackenzie's jumped a million miles up in the air to get out of the way of Jaden Clark's shot, and it was a deflection off the goalkeeper and in. So, take them how you can at the moment, mate, don't we?
Yeah, again, Clark's in the right place at the right time. But what I really did like about the goal was that they could have quite easily counter-attacked us, and a lot of times that has happened. So I was quite pleased with Clark to get that little interception in, and he's played a really good ball across the box. And Clark, again, he's putting on a real battle. But if you ended the season now, it'd be between him and Little for who gets Player of the Year. But he's really come on leaps and bounds, and probably he's proven me wrong, and probably quite a few other people wrong. And all I can say is just keep it up, keep proving people wrong, because that's what we like to see.
Yeah. And David, what did you think of the goal? Where obviously he then 2 minutes later had one called offside, but again, like I think as Peter Lloyd said as well, since I've watched it back, he's like Jaden Clark's turning into a bit of a goal poacher as well.
Yeah, I mean, on the midweek game, I felt his body language in that game was pretty poor. He looked really dejected, as if, whatever he was trying to do, it wasn't coming off, and he just thought, well, why am I here? And even in the first half of this game, he didn't seem to really sort of spark. Nothing seemed to go his way. And then, of course, right place, right time. And the guy had a shot, which is, let's face it, if you don't shoot, you don't score. And there's too many Gillingham players, I think, that need to learn that they don't have a shot. And as soon as he got on the end of it, he just hit it. The second one, had he stayed back another yard, he would still have got there. He would have got a second goal. And who knows what would have gone on from there, to be honest. But he was lightning quick, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Right place, right time.
Yeah, definitely. And Warren, to be fair, mate, like I touched on what David's just said about him looking a bit dejected on Wednesday night and then in the first half. Do you think that could be because he is trying and others around him aren't, and he's just getting a little bit, pissed off with it?
No, I just think he was playing along with the other 10, to be honest, on Wednesday night. Weren't interested, didn't care, couldn't be bothered. On Saturday, great goal. I've been telling everyone on this show for the last couple of months that he should be playing up front. And I got my wish. Unfortunately, he got a yellow card, and at the point of the game, we couldn't risk another one and getting him sent off. So he was taken off, but I'd like to have seen him play up front for a bit longer. Playing him with either Nevitt or Andrews, no problem with that. I don't think he's a winger. He doesn't make enough assists for me as a winger. But in the box, he is an absolute live wire, and he seems to find space. And he's not, as David alluded to, he's not scared to shoot. And we've got a lot of players that are prepared to take an extra touch. They're prepared to pass the ball in that position. But Jaden's the only one that we've got who's naturally going to hit the ball towards goal. And that's why I say he should play up front.
Yeah, and I find it quite interesting with that as well, because obviously we played Nevitt and Andrews up top, and I thought that could really work. But then for a lot of the game, Andrews, being the big man, was the one dropping deeper. And you know, when you're thinking to yourself, like, out of the two, you would, if anyone's going to drop deeper, it should have been Nevitt and left Andrews up top. But there was sometimes in the first half when he was playing near enough left back, like coming back to help defend and going back again, leave the big man up top and just let Nevitt do the running.
He didn't win many headers either, did he? I noticed, Andrews. And yet when Nevitt was up there, he actually won more headers.
Yeah,
which I thought was, odd, really. Huh?
Nevitt won the most headers in the game. I think he won like 14 headers.
He did well.
It just shows.
Well. Talking about Jaden, though, am I right in thinking that if you get 5 yellow cards, you have to have a suspension?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, there is a cut-off. I don't know when that is.
I think it's 5 because Jaden's now on 4. So
there's quite a few.
I think it's from 1st of January, Dom, up to the 1st of January.
I'm sure it's before the window.
Oh, right.
The window closes.
He's on 4 at the moment, Jaden. So let's hope he doesn't get any more.
Or just let him get it out of the way against MK Dons, maybe. Right, boys. Sorry. Anyway, we will move on to our man of the matches, and I will start with David and Dom. It's a 50-50 split tonight. So both of you have gone for Glenn Morris. So Dom, I'll start with you, mate.
It was a tough one. I said to Warren after the game when we was walking, while I went back to the pub, he was going back to the station. You could have picked between the two of them, but I went purely for Morris because the 2 or 3 saves he did make won us the game. But without that save in the first half, we would have probably lost. Without the save in the second half, another 1-on-1, we probably would have drew or lost again. But yeah, when he's called upon, he just turns up every single time, and he's a credit. Really, he's a number 2. Really, who should be a number 1. He's been an absolute credit. I think he deserves man of the match. Only just over Webster. I thought Webster was fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I think, you know, in terms of like game saving moments, Morris came up with a good again. That's why he just edged it for me.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, I mean, likewise, really. Yeah, I felt exactly the same. That Webby was excellent for a young lad making his debut, but when it came down to it, the most crucial part of the game was those saves. And you know, we could have actually gone behind on a couple of occasions there, but Glenn comes up with it. I mean, I've always rated Morris. I think he's been an excellent keeper, and I think when he was here in this first spell behind Stuart Nelson, I think he was unlucky. I think he was actually every bit as good as Nelson. We all know what a cult hero he turned out to be. But the only thing wrong with Glenn, which I think you might have mentioned it, Kris, his distribution is sometimes pretty awful. But the important thing is he's there to stop goals going in, and he did exactly that. So that's why he got my vote.
Yeah, I think mine's more Jake Turner's distribution is pretty awful. Glenn's maybe not so much. But no, I say for me it was a toss up between Harry Webster, Max Clark, and Glenn Morris. To be fair, I couldn't really choose out the 3. I've gone for Harry purely because he's come into the squad first, his full debut, and he's literally run the show, which we will get on to in a minute. After Warren's given us his reasons, because the viewing focus this week is Harry Webster against Romeo Hutton. So we'll go with yours first, mate.
Right, so I'll go to Webster, to Harry Webster, purely on simply on his league debut. Let's not get too over the top with him. There were some parts of the game that he wasn't good at. Pace is one thing that's going to stop him from reaching higher climbs. He needs to improve his pace a little bit because first half especially, their winger got behind him a couple of times and it was a bit short. But he kept going. He kept winning duels, especially second half. Second half, I thought was outstanding. I thought someone must have had a word with him at half time. He came out a different player, and I think he really enjoyed it. As regards to man of the match, I like to give it to people that improve, play better than they have been, and whatever. Normally, I would have given it to Glenn, but Dom said he was picking him, and I couldn't be the same as Dom. So,
yeah, Dom,
bloody youngsters. But no, I thought Morris did really well in goal on Saturday. He didn't put a foot wrong. I thought Ethan Coleman had his best game for a long time, so he was in the mix. I thought Max Clark played really well. He just seems one of these players that need a kick up the arse every couple of games, and maybe him being dropped for the Bromley game, maybe he got that kick up the backside because he came in and played very well. I thought Masterson's second half was very good. And I thought Nevitt worked tirelessly up front. So players that I've had a go at recently all stepped up and improved on what they produced at Bromley on Wednesday night.
Yeah. And as you can see on the screen, the viewing focus, we haven't really done a player comparison for a while, but I thought it was quite poignant and needed because obviously our number one right back was dropped after comments made by Bonner. Whether he's being made a scapegoat or whether he's actually part of the problem, we don't know. For me, it's the two players at centre back that are more of a problem than Romeo Hutton. But yeah, so you can see yourselves on the screen. I think like the 10 clearances to 1, the 3 interceptions, the ground jewels 1. Pass accuracy may be off, but then obviously he's a young lad, so we can't expect him to be perfect. But Dom, do you think that Romeo Hutton's a bit of a scapegoat, or do you think that he deserved to be dropped?
What I would say about Romeo is I don't think he's a scapegoat. I would just say that we probably expected a little bit more than what he's given us. I would say. I think there's definitely been worse players than him in the last few weeks. But at the end of the day, the manager's got to pick positions somewhere, and sadly for him, it's been right back on the weekend. But hopefully that gives him a bit of fire in his belly to try and claim his place back. And that's what you want to see from a manager. That's what we want to see as fans. If you get dropped, work your ass off to get back in. But what I would say about Webster is, if you look at them stats, I think what I would say about his stats is that it just looks like the basics were done, and that's probably what makes him look a lot better in this comparison right now. He'd done the basics so well, and for a young man, was he 18 years old? If you look at them stats, you'd think he's 28. Really, and as Warren said, just don't get ahead of ourselves just yet. Keep him on a level head. But yeah, he's definitely given Bonner a bit of a headache for MK on the weekend. Did he stick with Harry in a big game, big pitch, or did he go back to Hutton and just see if in the week's training, is he like upped his game a little bit to get back involved? Yeah,
David. I mean, there could be a question with Romeo that he's does have a bit of a not an attitude problem. I don't want to say an attitude problem, but he does have a bit of an attitude. Potentially, when he came in, and obviously we all saw that video that he did when he first came in. Then at Barrow, him and Masterson having an argument on the pitch. Do you think that maybe that could play into why he was left out, or the attitude there?
I mean, personally, I do agree that in general he's been possibly our best player in the last few weeks. But I actually disagree with you, Warren, on the game at Bromley. Most of his crosses were just aimless. They were just chucked in there with no sort of finesse at all. And he was brought in originally to provide assists and quality crosses, and I just didn't think he did it at all last week. But there's something about the guy that he has been a bit controversial. But I think more so, I'd rather say that it was that Webster's been showing a lot of promise clearly in training, and give him a go. And moving forward, I'll keep him in the side. I really would.
Yeah, Warren?
I disagree with you, David. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But
That's what it's all about.
yeah, I agree. I think Romeo's got to come in for MK Dons. It's a big game. They're playing well. Scott Lindsay's got them working hard, and he's got them playing a decent brand of football. I just think on pace alone, and the fact that, as Dom alluded to, it is a big wide pitch at MK. I think Romeo would be best served playing. Whether we go to a 5 at the back at MK, I don't know, or whether we stay with a 4. I think that possibly he may have been left out because we did revert to a 4, and Bonner wanted 4 defenders because Clark's not a very good wing back, but he is a very good left back in a 4. Yeah. When you're not asking to keep bombing up and down the line, right, and he's just doing the occasional sprint like he did for the goal with a pass to Clark, I just think that Harry's probably a better defender than what Romeo is, but Romeo gives you something going forward which Harry Webster doesn't. So I think it all depends on which way Bonner wants to play as to who plays. As for the attitude, I don't mind players with a bit of attitude as long as they channel in the right direction. If they become a bad egg in a dressing room, get shot, no matter how good they are. If it's the attitude of I can't be bothered, which I don't think I've seen, then again, it should be bombed. But at Bromley, you said about Hutton's aimless crosses. Jesus, did you see any of Nolan's corners?
No, fair comment. Fair comment.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Warren,
Warren,
the question is, mate, did you?
Yeah, I saw him take it twice.
Oh, dear.
No, honestly, I just look at it and I think to myself, it's horses for courses, and I think Bonner's been a bit too lenient with certain players. I think certain players have been bigged up unnecessarily. Players like Ewan Williams, I don't rate him. I don't think he's that good. You got Ewan Williams, you got Dieng. You got to remember that they didn't even make the squad on Saturday. Marcus Wiley never made the squad Saturday. Are they the bad eggs? Because I haven't seen an injury to Dieng announced.
No, he has got a hamstring problem.
Has he?
Yeah.
But
problem, yeah.
all I look at is certain players weren't in that side. Maybe Gell, he could have gone a step further, Bonner, and brought Gell in for Aimer or Masterson. Any one of them two could have quite easily dipped out. Ogie, I think he's used as a bit of a scapegoat, and he's scared to drop Masterson and Aimer, so he drops Ogie out of the back line. And I think that sometimes it can be a bit harsh, especially as we started the season well. When we was winning games, Ogie was playing at the back with Aimer because Masterson was injured.
Yeah, I think you could take account. I like Ogie, but I think sometimes, Warren, that he's got a clanger in him, isn't he?
Yeah, but you said that about Masterson Saturday.
Yeah,
you alluded to that on Saturday. Masterson made a complete balls up, right, and didn't get back. Ogie will.
Yeah,
Ogie can get back and rectify mistakes, right? I just think that, as again I've alluded to on the show, I think something happened after the Barrow game in the dressing room or within the club. It all went badly wrong. And I think Bonner's just got to the end of his tether this week, changed the side around a bit, actually upset a couple, and went with it and got his just rewards. Did we play well? Not really. Did we entertain? Not really. Did we look like scoring more than one? Not really. But what we did do was we battled. And I'm happy with that every week.
Yeah. Anything else on the on this, lads? Before we move on, the only thing I really want else to add is the fact that Bradley Dack did come back in and had a couple of minutes, and it was quite nice to see that his hair is not bright blonde anymore. So
yeah, what I was saying on the topic of Warren on about the bench, like Wiley, Williams. I think when you've got an option of Aaron Rowe and Bradley Dack or Wiley and Williams, I think it's a bit obvious what Bonner's going to pick. I wouldn't say they're bad eggs either, Wiley or Williams.
Yeah, but did you think Dack looked fit enough to come and play 30 minutes if it had been required?
Well, if you're fit enough for the bench, you're fit enough to play. For me,
yeah,
I agree, mate. But he came on, he didn't touch the ball, did he?
Well,
he did. He had 3 touches. 3 touches.
3 touches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus,
one of it was to boot it as far as he could down to the corner flag.
Yeah.
Just to waste a bit of time.
That's fine. Don't mind that.
No, nor do I.
To be fair, it was like Mark said in his post-match there. He said that it was more about getting him that mindset of getting him back on the field for a bit, rather than
experienced head on the pitch as well.
Yeah,
I think, he said as well he wanted to get Aaron Rowe on, but Clark getting booked didn't really help that situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping with another full week, Aaron Rowe will get under his belt, then he can actually maybe even start at the weekend against MK Dons, because I don't like to witch hunt on players or dig them out too much, but I've been extremely disappointed with Jack Nolan so far. I think he runs at snail pace. You could see the attitude on him when Jaden scored at the weekend. He didn't even run over to celebrate with him like the rest of them. He just literally walked over. I don't know whether
Kris, does this mean Wing Life's going to disband?
Yeah. No, mate, I'm not being funny, but I say it how it is. I'm not going to sit there and blow smoke up his arse when he's playing absolutely terrible.
Mate, he's...
And do you know what? And I don't mean this in a horrible way, right? Because there may be mitigating circumstances with it, but he looks a little bit heavy.
I agree.
He looks heavy.
And if he is, that's either down to him personally or he's not on the right fitness program, and then that's down to other factors.
Mark Bonner, yeah.
You know,
I don't think he did too bad when he came on. To be honest, he had a really good run that led to what would have been a second goal, and a really good shot on target there. And 2 or 3 times in his own half, he was getting hold of the ball, moving around a bit and laying it off really well. But it's just not consistent, is it? He doesn't really show any consistency and any real desire. So I don't know what's going on there. It's a big disappointment because let's face it, when we signed him, we thought he was going to basically move heaven and earth and get loads of goals for us. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
I just don't think he looks interested.
No.
No. And you know what, David, with what you've just said, then you could have taken Jack Nolan's name out and put Conor Mahoney's name in.
Yeah.
Because it's a carbon copy, isn't it, really? Like last season, he'd have moments of brilliance and then he'd drift out for 5 or 6 games, then have moments of brilliance again. So,
yeah.
I don't know how.
I know who I'd have in the team.
Who's that?
Mahoney. Every day of the week.
Yeah, over Jack Nolan, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's not digging him out. You know, if I say he looks a bit heavy and he doesn't, then tell me.
Without the Accrington Jack Nolan, no.
I don't mean it to criticise him. It's meant to be constructive. He just looks a little bit leggy, a little bit heavy. Yeah, so no offence, Jack. And no Wing Life forever. So we move on to attendance, boys. So it's 5,238 home fans, an amazing 58 away fans, a total of 5,296. So I think that everyone was pretty good at the weekend. I didn't really hear any booing full time, which was nice. Always nice. 58 fans. They didn't really do much, but you don't expect them to. Not really much else we could say on the attendance, boys. So we'll move on to a look ahead to MK Dons. So MK Dons last 5 games, a loss, win, win. This is in all competitions. And for us, it's win, draw, loss, win. So I'm going to start with you, Warren. What are your predictions for next Saturday? And do you think we can beat, for me, the best team in the league at the moment?
No, we're probably going to lose 24-0. No, honestly, it's one of them games generally can go there and win, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll shock everyone. No one expects it. But what we have done this season is play well against the better sides or form sides, as I say. So you look at Barrow, Chesterfield, Port Vale, Salford with a form side. We're beating all the form sides, but unfortunately they're at home. And away from home, we don't look like we have much idea or any inclination to go out and fight. So I don't expect us to win 3-0. I think lack of pace will do for us. We could do with Aaron Rowe back to add a bit of pace to the side. Apart from that, I don't hold out much hope. I'll just get drunk again before the game, and then it'll look good.
Do you know
It'll
what?
look good.
It could be a good game for Aaron Rowe to start, actually, because as Dom said earlier, it is a big pitch. So I think, but then it could also be, the caveat to that could be, it's a massive pitch, so he's got to do more running. Is he then going to hurt himself again? So, but yeah, we'll go with you, Tom. Dom, sorry, mate. What are your thoughts for this coming Saturday?
I agree with you. I think they're the best team in the league by an absolute mile, and if they're not champions come May, I'll be stunned, to be honest. I think if we go there and get a point, I'll snap your hand off now if you gave it to me. It's just, as Warren said, it could be typical Gillingham. We could go there and win 1-0, shit out something, or we can go there and lose 4-0. It just depends what type of Gillingham team wants to turn up. And, if we want to be the team that's going to be consistent, these are sort of games you've got to, turn up in again. We can't, win 1 week like we did against Port Vale, then lose the following week, or then go into MK and get, if we go there and get tonked, everyone's negative again. We just need a positive result, no matter how it comes. Just hope for the best. But yeah, it will be probably our toughest game of the season. I think. Just hopefully we just come out of it with a decent result.
Yeah, David, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, one thing is we've got a really good backing, haven't we? We've over 800 tickets sold, so that will turn that place a bit less of a library, as it seems to be every time anyone goes there, because it's beautiful ground but awful support, isn't it? And yeah, we do have a habit of going out and playing better against sides above us, and I'm just hoping that maybe with that backing and the wide sort of spaces where maybe Jaden can also get a bit of freedom, that we might just nick something. But yeah, I think the sensible head of me would say that we'll probably lose by a couple of goals to 0. But there's just that chance, really. There is just that chance that if we can get a goal and get ahead, we could just do something, really. So fingers crossed. It's a shame that Bodie's going to probably be out after his knockout, because again, I would have thought he's the sort of player that would enjoy the wide open spaces of the library.
Wide open space in the library. And to be fair, it's quite a shame. It is a shame. It is a shame that they can't seem to even half fill it, let alone fill it. But it is a lovely stadium. Matt's off tonight. Why he's not on here tonight? He's doing a preview podcast for an MK Dons pod. So I'm sure that'll be fun for him. So yeah, that's fine. So David, this will be your bit, mate. We are on to the supporters club. So instead of me doing it or Matt doing it, you could do it yourself this week.
Well, we, as you know, Kris, we had a meeting last week with Phil Catterick and Ben was there, which ended up being a quartet of people as it happened, because we had three from our own committee cried off at the last minute. But I just felt it was worthwhile getting down and talking with the club. And the one thing that I was at pains to try and get over to them was that we're still waiting for the club to get sorted about the proposed Gills Museum, which seems to be sort of falling on my shoulders. which is a bit weird, bearing in mind I'm nothing to do with the club directly. But it now needs the club itself, to actually do a promotional video to say that we're looking to raise money to actually get this thing off the ground. And the target is to get a proper museum opened by the start of next season, which will be a pretty good draw. I mean, I know exactly what it will look like and what sort of format it will be, and it's something that I think as a club we've been missing for some while now, and hopefully the supporters club can be the sort of catalyst to actually get that off the ground. But it just needs Joe, if you're listening, it just needs Joe to get organised with myself to hopefully get a promotional video. But other than that, the good thing is that at the weekend they finally are saying to people it is a non-smoking ground. So, please give your cooperation, because it's not very nice if you're sitting, I believe, at the Raynham end, getting clouds of vape everywhere. So that's another good thing. Yeah, but it's all going really well. We've got our membership's gone up really leaps and bounds in the last few months. We're getting an awful lot more coverage in the press. You and I, Kris, we did the huddle last week. I think it was a week before.
I've done it like 4 times now. I'm starting to lose track of it.
Getting famous now, aren't you?
I think on Wednesday me and you did KMTV though, didn't we?
Yeah, KMTV with Paul Jocelyn, who's a legend in his own lifetime. Hopefully he's listening tonight, and it's going really well. I'm really pleased with how it's going. There's always something that the club needs to do better, but we want to work with the club to make it a better experience for supporters, young and old, really, and even for the away fans. So there you go.
All 58 of the Salford ones at the weekend. There we go. Right. So yeah, it's great. So if you haven't, then obviously go onto the website at the Supporters Club. All the prices are on the screen for you if you want to sign up there. So we have come to the end, boys. It's quite a good timing tonight. So has anyone got anything else they would like to add about the weekend before we leave? And I'll start with you, Dom.
3 points is 3 points. Take them when they come, and yeah, just keep the faith in Bonner. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Warren.
Message to the players: our supporters appreciate you and respect you more when you try.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and David, yourself?
Yeah, I'd echo that. That's the sort of Gillingham that I want to be proud of. It's our Gillingham, and we've always been known as a side that fights. And without that fight, then there's no point going on. But we really fight like that, and we'll get the points. We really will.
Perfect words. And yeah, I kind of the same thing for me. I've said it throughout the show. I've said it at the start, said it in the middle. We don't necessarily expect you to win every week, but we expect you to try. So that's all we can ask. And I think that's what we pretty much got on Saturday. And hopefully we can now start to turn a corner. And as a club, fans and players, build a foundation and reignite the season. So with that, boys, we come to the end of the show. So if you haven't followed us yet on the Facebook group, why not? The View from the Medway. X at TVFTM, and on YouTube, The View from the Medway. I've been Kris, he's been Dom, he's been Warren, he's been David. Good night, and up the Jills.
See ya.
Up the Jills.